Good morning, kindergarten math wizards. Happy Monday. Okay, today's lesson, we're gonna review back to one of the skills that we learned last week. So we have been practicing how to make numbers all the way up to 9, as well as how to decompose. Please remember, decompose when things break down. So decompose is breaking down a number. That means looking at a number and being able to break it into two groups that add together to make that number. So today we're going to practice decomposing 8 and 9. So please make sure that you have your worksheet right in front of you. And we always start on the side that has our review box. So it has a box at the top. This word is review. And it just goes over what we learned in the lesson before we start our practice. So first thing I do is always the same. I pick up my pencil and
write my name.
Great job. I'm going to write my name. Please make sure that you take this time to write your name. Only the first letter of your name should be uppercase. The rest should be lowercase. Make sure you've written that nicely on the line. All right. And remember, at any point in this video, if you need to stop it, to take a little bit of extra time, hit the pause button and then make sure to hit play to get the lesson going again. You can also rewind it if you somehow maybe I went too fast, or maybe you just needed a little bit of extra time there. You can always rewind it to make sure you complete the task, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at our review box. So here shows us two different ways to decompose or break down the number 9. So when we ask for two different ways, that means I want two different numbers that when you add them all together, create 9. So the first box shows us 9 equals 5 plus 4. We can see there's 9 and they've said, well, 5 and 4 make 9. So when we look at a different way, that means it's completely different numbers. I shouldn't have a 5 or a 4 over here. I'm starting with a completely different number. So we've got 9 equals 5 plus 4. 9 equals 7 and 2. Great job. So we're going to look down here and we're going to practice together decomposing 8 and 9. I need you to first make sure that you have 2 crayons. We're going to use the same 2 color crayons throughout the lesson. So I've picked up a purple and a blue. So I'm going to use purple as my group 1 crayon and blue as my group 2 crayon. Okay, so I know that when I start coloring with my group 1 crayon, I have to group them all together. We're not making patterns with these colors. We're grouping all of our group 1 colors together. Then when I switch to group 2, I'm going to color in all of my group 2 together, okay? So let's take a look at the first one. How can you decompose 8? Color each square, color each square, and then you're going to write the equation to match. So I'm going to start with my group 1 color, purple, and I'm going to start coloring. So what's a way that we can decompose? So that means I'm going to break down that 8 into 2 different groups. Now notice, I'm doing my best to stay within the lines here. I'm not scribbling really hard across the page. I am just doing my best to color in the lines here. All right, so now I've done group 1. Notice it's all the same color. Once I switch to my group 2 color, I'm going to stay with that color. I'm not going to switch back because I already changed to group 2. And you know what I've noticed that's a great helper for some of us if we're kind of struggling with using the crayons to color our groups is I've seen some friends use our first skill that we learned where they go and they'll draw a line to kind of separate where they want their groups to go. Then they'll go back and color their first group up to where they broke apart that line and then color the second group. So if that's something that could help you understand where your group 1 and your group 2 are, by all means, go ahead and use that strategy too, okay? So for this one, I'm going to come down here and it says 8 equals, because we were decomposing the number 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I start with the whole number first, and that goes first where our equal sign is. So 8 equals, I'm going to use my group 1 crayon. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to write 4. Then I'm going to use my group 2 crayon. 8 equals 4 plus, how many in my group 2? 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm going to put 4 here. I'm going to say it again, guys. I know when I see Gus the plus, that is where my group 1 plus group 2 goes. If you're struggling or having a hard time remembering where your numbers go in the equation, please always remember. You see the plus sign, you know that's your group 1 plus group 2. I shouldn't see a group 1 in front of the equal sign here when we're decomposing. Look for that plus sign, group 1 plus group 2. All right, let's go ahead down here to number 2. How can you decompose 9? So we're going to do the same thing. I'm going to use my group 1 crayon, and I'm going to start coloring for group 1. Let's see here. All right, I'm nicely coloring within the lines there. It's okay if you make a little mistake and go outside. That's okay. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and switch here to my group 2 crayon. Now remember, I am not making a pattern, so I'm not going to color that blue and then say, I'm going to color that one. And then I'm going to go switch back and forth. No, when we make our groups, we keep them all together because we're not going back and counting, well, how many are purple? That's not showing our groups. So I've already switched to my group 2 crayon. I have to stick with group 2. It's a little hard to color on this while I'm holding it up. All right, so I'm going to make sure I color in each one here. See, notice it took me a little bit of time, and I didn't even do my best job here. That's okay. Going back, trying to make it look nice, because we take pride in our work. So that when I go home and I show my family, I'm like, look at what a great job I've done. Okay, let's fill in our equation. So they have the sum for us already, the number we're breaking down. We are decomposing 9. So 9 equals, because there's 9 squares, 9 equals group 1 crayon. Group 1 has 1. So I'm going to write 1 plus how many is in my group 2? Let's count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
8.
How many?
8.
8. That's right. So I'm going to use my group 2 crayon and I'm going to write 8. Because one way to decompose 9 is 9 equals 1 plus 8. Okay, make sure we've got that down. And did you guys notice that I crossed out while I was counting? Even my best math students, I watch make mistakes because they're rushing and just counting with their fingers. The best mathematicians in the world make mistakes. Use your strategies to help you. Cross them out while you count. It takes 2 seconds. All right, flip your page over. All right, now it doesn't give us the pictures for us. Now we're gonna have to do it on our own, all right? That means we're gonna draw the counters. So I'm gonna use a pencil to draw my counters just because I know that it's a nice and neat way to keep up with it, all right? So let's take a look. The first one says draw counters to show 8. You ready? I know I'm doing it 2 ways here. So I'm going to nice and neatly draw 8 counters under the first equation. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Please take your time and make sure this is nice and neat. Where I see mistakes is my friends who are drawing their circles so big it takes up the space and they can't keep them all together and it's all over the place. And then when I come to try to help them, I'm like, well, I don't even know where to count your circles because you've got them all intermixed in and they're not in like a nice, neat place where I can say, oh, here are your 8 counters. Let's separate those into our 2 groups. Let's break it apart, which is decompose. So I've got 8 here. I'm going to go ahead and I know I'm going to have to do it another way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw my 8 counters again under this equation. I'm not going to draw it connected to these 8 because this is a completely different equation. Does that make sense? So I should not see you continue drawing from here. There needs to be a space. So finger space. Then I'm going to draw another 8 counters for my next equation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do you see how you can see, well, these 8 go with this equation. These 8 go with this equation. If you need to pause to erase and make it a little bit more nice and neat, please do that. It's going to help you, all right? let's get busy. Now I want us to break it apart. So I'm going to use my pencil and I'm going to come in here, and with that first equation, I'm going to draw a line. Now I decomposed. I broke it apart into group 1 and group 2. So let's go ahead and write that equation. 8 equals my group 1 plus group 2. I see that plus sign. I know that's group 1 plus group 2. Our group 1 has how many? Let's cross them out. 1, 2, 3. 3 plus, let's count how many in our group 2. Ready? 1, 2,
3, 4, 5.
How many?
5.
5. Let's write our 5. Group 1 plus group 2. Make sure your numbers match your group 1 and your group 2. Don't flip-flop them, okay? Because we want it to match the picture. That's the right way to do it. So now over here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ask you guys to choose which way you want to break apart or decompose these 8 right here, and then fill in your equation. We just did it here together. We drew a line with 3 and 5. I want a different way. So there should not be a group of 3. There should not be a group of 5. So draw your line somewhere else to break apart those 8 into your group 1 and group 2, and then write the numbers to finish the equation. I'm going to leave it just like that. Yours should not look like this. You're doing this part on your own. Draw a line to show me a different way to decompose 8. Okay, let's go down here to number 9. We're going to do the same thing we did up here. I'm going to do one with you, and then you need to do the next one by yourself. The first thing we're going to do is, how can you decompose 9? 2 different ways. I'm going to draw my 9 counters underneath this equation. Then I'm going to draw another 9 counters under this equation, just like we did up here. I spaced them out so I could tell which ones went with which equation. So we're going to make sure we do that down here. Ready? Let's start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Great job. I'm going to go ahead and draw my counters over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Notice there's that space there, so I can tell that these are 9 with this equation. This is 9 with this equation. Let's go ahead and let's break them apart or decompose. So I'm going to draw a line right there. Right? Group 1 plus group 2. Let's fill those in. My group 1 has how many? 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 plus my group 2. Let's count it. Ready?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Fantastic. Let's write our 5. 9 equals 4 plus 5. Now you're going to do this next one on your own. I want you to draw a line to make your group 1 and group 2. Then you're going to fill in your numbers, group 1 and group 2. Different numbers. I do not want to see a 4. I do not want to see a 5. So it should not be 9 equals 5 plus 4. That's the same. I want 2 different numbers when put together add up to 9. Okay, so draw your line somewhere else. And if you accidentally draw your line and you're like, oh, well, that's 5 and 4, go back and erase it and move your line to make it different numbers. All right, once you have completed all that, make sure yours is all done. These equations should both be done on your own. You're going to make sure your name is on it because that was the first thing we did. And then you're going to get it checked and turned in, friends. I had fun today, and I will see you next time.